Hello guys, hello reader pops. So yeah, I read 20 books in the month of August. Keep in mind, I did do a 24-hour reading video and some of the books are novellas, but honestly a lot of the books that I read this month were like 475 pages or 500 pages, so it kind of makes up for the novellas. I don't know, 20 is too many, but actually my previous record for a month was 18 books and that was last August, so both times that I've read the most amount of books has been August for some reason, but 20 is too many. Honestly, I don't want to keep this up by any means. I would rather read less or really like dive into a series next month, but nonetheless, this is gonna be very fun to talk about. I feel like I am really finding my reading style this month because last month I had a little thriller moment and now thrillers don't interest me, but YA fantasy or just series in general really interest me. So the first book that I read this month was These Twisted Bonds by Lexi Ryan, which is the sequel to These Hollow Vows, which I read in my reading 5 books out of my comfort zone video on my main channel if you want to watch that. I was told that this series is like ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses, but with no spice. But there actually is some mild spice in this, even though it's young adult. I didn't really know that was a thing in young adult. This regular girl named Bree goes to the fairy world because her sister gets stolen there, and then she has to do all of these things for the unseelie court. This one honestly felt really slow to me at the beginning, and I was really bored for a long time. But then the ending was kind of fun, but kind of rushed. I gave it 4 stars though, so I must have liked it. We get a lot more of Finn in this book. This series has a love triangle, so for those reasons I liked this book a lot, but I think I liked the first one better. Yeah, this is a 4-star series overall, so if you want a YA fairy love triangle, I love reading about the fae, but there's not really that many hyped up fae books other than ACOTAR, so this was really fun. Next, I read The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. This was the book of the month romance book that they chose, so it got really popular, and then I got told that it was a no spice romance book, and I was like, okay, sweet, I need to see if it's good then. It's a nice and short 300 pages in the hardback, and it's about this girl. Oh, Emily Henry blurbed it. Wow, she said my perfect 10 of a book. So this girl is the bodyguard. She's in like not a witness protection program, but she just is security for really high target people, like people who earn a lot of money, stuff like that. But then she gets put on the job to protect this very famous actor guy, and then they end up fake dating for the sake of their family, not figuring out that she's a bodyguard. And I rated this 4.5 stars, but I really start to feel how much I like books the more I think about them afterwards, and I've thought about this book a lot, and so it's almost a perfect 5-star read for me. I honestly would just recommend this to everyone. I loved it so much. I loved the romance, I loved the setting, I loved the ending was a little bit shocking. I loved everything about this book. So if you get one book recommendation from this video and you want a happy romantic comedy, I highly recommend The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. It was just amazing and no spice. Okay, I'm just gonna get this out of the way because I read these books all out of order, but it is all part of the same series. I'm so excited about this. I finished the Shatter Me series, and I am so glad that I did because I ended after Ignite Me, and I hadn't been reading any of the novellas, so I just read that original trilogy because Ignite Me was amazing, 5-star book. It's a dystopian with a lot of romance, by the way, if you don't know. And Ignite Me just ties up really well, so I was like, I'm just not gonna read the rest of the books. And then for whatever reason, I picked up Restore Me, which is the next book, and this book was a perfect 5 out of 5 again, if not even better, because we get more of the love story between the characters who are in love. And then I actually started reading the novellas. So I read Restore Me, and then you read Shadow Me, which this one has 2 novellas in it. So Shadow Me, and then Defy Me, which was also 5 out of 5 stars. So fast paced because you've got the action of the world. Sorry that I'm screaming, I love this series. So fast paced, you get the action of the world, but then you also get the romance, and the romance in the series is one of my new favorites. And then I read Reveal Me, which is the second novella in this book. I know it's very confusing. You can look up a reading order because I had to look it up for every single book. And then the last full book in the series is Imagine Me, which was not a 5 out of 5 stars. This was like a 4-star read because I feel like they were doing a lot of nothing in the book, and then all of a sudden it wraps up so fast at the end. It was a little bit rushed to me, so not a perfect 5 out of 5, but that's fine because out of this whole series, there's so many 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read the last novella, Believe Me, which is, I didn't know what to expect for this. I think it's so pretty, and I kind of put off reading this because I just was like, I don't know what's gonna happen in that book. It seems kind of pointless, but this is one of my favorites in the whole series. This was so cute. This was just the 2 main characters who are in love, just living. This is basically a romance book, okay? But we get the perspective of a character that I love and the interactions of him and Kenji, which is one of my favorite characters as well. I feel like the writing has always been like this for this character in particular, Aaron Warner, but I just really liked the writing in this book. But there actually is spice in this one, which I was not expecting because that's not really a thing in the first 2 books at all. and then like not even really at all, but kind of in Ignite Me. And then for the rest of the series, it's like talked about, but it's not described, but it actually is described for a scene in this book, which was a little shocking because it is YA. And then I wanted to go back and read the first 2 novellas that I had skipped because I want to just be able to put it in my reading journal that I've read the entire series. So I read Destroy Me, which is the first novella of the series, and it's from Warner's point of view. If you are gonna read these books, I would recommend the novellas. I think they're fun, fast, easy read. You don't need them. They're fun time. They're good, fun, like in between book palette cleanser. So yeah, I am so happy that I finished the Shatter Me series. It's definitely a 5-star series for me. They're so easy to fly through, and I highly recommend it if you want a fun, fast-paced dystopian book series, but with a heavier subplot of romance, because I feel like nowadays, obviously I started with reading romance, and now I'm getting kind of sick of the normal rom-com setup, so I like there to be a backdrop of like a fantasy setting or dystopian setting, and so this series was just perfect for that. Speaking of rom-coms, I read Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. If you guys don't know, Lynn Painter is one of my favorite authors this year because she wrote Better Than the Movies, and then also The Do-Over, which is coming out in November. Those are both young adult. This one is adult. It's the first adult romance I read by her, and I gave this one a 3-star, and I don't know, her writing is really funny. I didn't really like this one because I didn't like the main love interest, and so if you don't like the guy in a romance book, then you kind of don't like the romance book, you know what I mean? So that's what happened for me here. There is some spice in this one because it's an adult romance, but her YA ones don't have any, and I didn't really like this one that much, but it pains me to say that because I love her so much as an author, so I'm gonna move on. Okay, during my 24-hour reading video, I read The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. This one has 0 spice in it. I'm saying that for every book now because sometimes I forget and then I get comments, so if you're wondering why, people like me to specify, and I appreciate it too because I try to figure that out for myself, but a lot of people don't say. And I was told that this is, I don't know, I kind of expected this to be a romantic comedy, but it's actually more of like a women's fiction book, almost like literary fiction. So I was bored for a lot of it. For like 200 pages, I was bored. And then the ending is really shocking. I had guessed what it was, but it was still shocking and satisfying. And then it was really sad at the end. And I was like, dang, I didn't know I was signing up for a sad book. I just read the back and it made me sad. So if you like a more slow-paced, well-written, clever book, like it all ties up in the end and it makes sense and it's a tearjerker, then you'll love this, but that's not really the type of book that I read. So I personally didn't like it that much, but I gave it a 3.5 stars because I really respected how well the ending was written. So I do want to read The Flasher by Beth O'Leary though, because you can tell she's a talented author and that one gets a lot of love. So then I read The Layover by Lacey Walden, mostly because it was a beautiful, summery, enemies to lovers romance book. And I was told that it's closed door, which it was, but there was still like an explicit scene, so I wouldn't recommend it to younger people. This was fun, and I think I would have liked this a lot more if I hadn't read a fantasy enemies to lovers that was 5 out of 5 stars for me, and then reading this enemies to lovers where it's like the reason she didn't like him was like, I could understand it, but it's just not as high stakes as fantasy, which is why once you discover the enemies to lovers in fantasy and they literally have to kill each other, and then you read a rom-com where it's like, oh, he looked at me funny. Yeah, I gave this 3 stars. If you want a quick and fun, easy summer romance book, this could be fun. Will I recommend it in a summer reading video next year? Probably, because I've seen some people really love this, and I was like, I feel like I could be one of those people if I hadn't read it after this next book, which I'm about to talk to you about, which is Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. First of all, these covers are gorgeous, and I'm so glad that I finally read these. They really intimidated me because they're thick, but these were like some OG book talk books back in the day, because we have Casimira, who is supposed to kill. Is she supposed to kill him? Well, she's just on a mission. She's a thief. Anyways, it's a true enemies to lovers fantasy book, and it's so good, but I was so intimidated because this book is like 500 pages. I was like, ugh, that's thick. What if I get in a reading slump? And then this one is, I think it's a little less long. It's like 480 pages, but when I tell you, I read these in 4 days. It's so good. There's romance subplot. There's no spice in any of these books. The main character is in this premier guard for the queen, and there's 2 other girls that she's friends with, and I love the dynamic of her friendship with the other girls. And then the family, like everything just felt very realistic, and it was written very well. And then this book, oh my gosh, this book stressed me out, and you're just on the edge of your seat for most of it, and you're ripping through the chapters to get to the end, and it ended perfectly. This is a 5 out of 5 series, a new one that I'm going to be recommending and talking about on on this channel a lot. So go ahead and just go buy it because you should read this. You should definitely read this. And they're so satisfying to hold. They're like bricks and they're beautiful, beautiful bricks. Next, I read Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson because I was told that this is a YA fantasy taking place in a magical library, which sounded amazing. And there's a tiny little subplot of romance in this book as well. It's an Amazon Best Book of the Year. That's crazy. Yeah, a lot of people describe this as like a Studio Ghibli movie. So if you've watched like Howl's Moving Castle or something, that's what I've heard it compared to. I have not seen that yet, but this book started out with a lot of promise. I was like, oh, the magic system is so cool. The books are alive in the library, but then the middle of the book got a little bit boring, but then it got more exciting and I was on board again. And then the ending, I really didn't like. That ending felt like a fever dream. I got so confused and I just wanted to be over with because I didn't know what was happening. So this was kind of a disappointment because I thought I was really gonna love this book. I gave it a 3.5 though because I really liked some of the characters, but yeah, the plot really just like was a roller coaster of me liking it and then not, and then hating it, and then yeah. There is a loud truck. Okay, next I read a book that went viral on the romance side of Book Talk, if you were on that, and that is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Oh, also for this book, there's no spice. I feel like a 12-year-old could read it and it'd be fun times. Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This is about a toxic relationship, and when I say toxic, I don't just mean like, oh, a little bit. No, like the most toxic thing I've ever read in my entire life. So I have an entire reading vlog on this book if you want to watch it. That's something I want to start doing on this channel, is reading vlogs, because I'm obsessed with watching them. So you can really see my real-time reactions because I have never had stronger reactions to a book probably all year. Like this is the strongest emotion that I felt from a book, which I hate saying because they were negative emotions, but in saying that, a lot of people in the comments of that video were like, oh, that makes me want to read it more. And I'm like, no, I am not recommending this book. I know so many people on Instagram and Book Talk love it. I'm so happy for them, so I don't want to like sit here and rag on it, but I gave it like a 2-star. I think I have it as a 3-star on Goodreads because that just felt so mean. Yeah, this book was not for me. It stresses me out to talk about books that people love. So that's that. But speaking about a book that a lot of people love, I started the Infernal Devices series. I hope a lot of you guys are excited about that because this series was huge, I feel like, in middle school. But this is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. My first book ever by Cassandra Clare, and I really hope that I get into the series because there's like 20 books in the Shadowhunter world, so I would be set with books to read if I fall in love. And I gave this one a 4-star, and I wasn't obsessed with it, but I really love the characters. I can definitely foresee myself falling in love with characters because it's set in London in the 1800s. We've got magic. We've got these kids, not kids, but like, how old are they? 19 or something? 19-year-olds living in this place called the Institute, which I picture being so grand and beautiful and awesome. A lot of them don't have family, so they are each other's family, which is the found family trope, which I love. There becomes a romance subplot throughout the series. There already is a little bit in this book, but I think it's just like a glimpse into what we're going to get. So for those reasons, I know I'm gonna fall in love with the series because a tiny little bit of romance we got in this book I was loving. So I'm so excited to continue the series. Some people told me that I should have started with the Mortal Instruments series, so oopsie daisies. It's kind of a debate, so I don't know. I started with this. I think I'll be fine. And then speaking of a series I did continue this month, I read the second book in the Caraval series, which is Legendary by Stephanie Garber. Oh, no spice in this one. I keep forgetting to say for each book. This whole series is a no spice series. It's YA and it's a very magical circusy type game, and her writing style is so beautiful. Just the way that she describes the world and the dresses that they wear. It's just, it is beautiful to listen to, specifically because I listened to the audiobook for most of this one because I had tried to pick it up and I got bored because sometimes I don't like writing lyrical writing. And so I listened to it and I would go on these walks in a beautiful neighborhood listening to the beautiful magical descriptions of this fairy world. Not fairy world. I say that just to mean magical. They're not actually fairies in this book. And it was truly a magical experience. And we're actually following Tella, which is the other sister in this book. And I actually like Tella more. So I think that's what helped a lot. And then the mission that she sent on in this book was so fun and so fast paced. And the last like 150 pages I read physically and I flew through them and I absolutely loved it. And I rated it 4 stars, but honestly, the more I think about it, I'm now in the 3rd book, so I'm a little biased, but this series is gonna be probably a very highly rated series for me. So I rated this one 4 stars, like I said. I can't wait to read the spin-off series, which is Once Upon a Broken Heart. And then in September, the 2nd book to that one comes out. And the books are gorgeous, and I'm just in love with listening to audiobooks for these and then reading them as well. So I highly recommend starting this series if you haven't read it at all. And then this might come as a shocker. This is kind of random, but I read The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien because I feel like you've got to read The Hobbit. I mean, you've got to. And I don't know why I thought this would be a difficult read, but it was actually very easy to get into, and it had me laughing out loud. Like, this book made me laugh so much, which I didn't know it was a funny book. So I cannot wait to watch the movie now that I've read the descriptions of like the little hobbit. It's just such a magical, immersive world. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars because it just feels incorrect to not do that for Mr. J.R.R. Tolkien. So I bought the rest of the Lord of the Rings series and I love the little books and I want to collect them. So if you haven't read this, it's not that hard to read. You should try to read it. It's fun. And then lastly, I don't know if you're tired of this yet, but I read The xhex by Aaron Sterling. Like I said, I'm getting at least right now, I'm a little bit tired of the typical romantic comedy, and this is a rom-com, but it has witches in it, so there's like a magic system, so it kind of feels like fantasy romance to me, so I was very excited to read this, especially because all of a sudden I really wanted it to be fall, and this book is so atmospheric for fall, and I was reading it while it was sunny outside, and it was kind of disappointing because I was like, dang, maybe I should have saved this for when it's like in the thick of fall, and I just pictured reading this in a bubble bath. If I would have done that, I probably would have rated this book higher because it's so perfect for that. This book I would say is 18 plus though. It's in the adult romance section, of course, so I'm assuming that's the age rating. There's quite a bit more spice in this book than any of the other books that I've mentioned. Magnolia Park's kind of explicit. I forgot to say that, but I have a whole vlog talking about that. But this was really fun. I didn't really like the romance that much in this book. I don't think that their relationship was romantic at all, so I didn't really like that. But I loved her sisters and the craziness of the magic and the setting of like the small town in Georgia that they were at that they described as Halloween Town. All of that, I thought that was so fun and exactly what I wanted for like a fall book. And the romance was something to just like keep the plot going, I guess. But I didn't really love the plot. Yeah, you get what I mean. Okay, so I gave this 3 stars. Good, fun, short, and easy. That's all the books that I read this month. It was way too many. It's not a competition. Read at your own pace. This is not me trying to flex on anyone. If anything, I'm telling you, don't read this many because it's too many. I kind of remember all of them somehow, but this next month, I'm probably just gonna be in the depths of some series that I really love, which is gonna be so exciting because there's just no better feeling than being in the middle of a series that you love. So I will see you in my reading vlogs coming up, or on my Instagram stories or TikTok or my main channel, somewhere on the internet. But thank you so much for watching this video. Leave a comment with an apple in it so that I know you got this far. I love you, goodbye.